What do you think of the Russian Orthodox Church trying to decriminalize domestic violence in Russia? I thought Christianity was against domestic violence. What is the Catholic Church's view on what to do about a domestic violence situation? I know we don't believe in divorce, but this was weighing heavily on my mind.
Okay, well, there are a couple of things here to keep in mind. One is, what do we mean by domestic violence? Do we just mean the husband and wife going at it with, banging away at each other with frying pans, or what? I guess let me put this another way. I've come out in favor of corporal punishment before, of children,
Right.
I mean.
Right.
Now, that today often gets labeled child abuse. And yet it is becoming illegal in many jurisdictions, corporal punishment has. I mean, what my father would do with us, which, honestly, I think was a big part of our character formation. Not so much the thing itself, which didn't happen that often, but the possible threat of it.
Mm-hmm.
That would be called child abuse today.
Yeah.
And if through some miraculous occurrence we were suddenly governed by people who weren't crazy, and they decided to specifically make spanking legal again,
Uh-huh.
you might look at that and say, oh, they're ending the child abuse laws. It depends on what we're calling child abuse. Sexual exploitation, child abuse. Holding the kid's face into the fire,
Yeah.
child abuse. That's child abuse.
Yeah.
Spanking the kid with a real purpose that causes no real damage and allows you to reinforce your points as in, don't do this so I don't have to do this again.
Mm-hmm.
That's not abuse. The fact is that children have very wayward wills. Now, it is certainly true that in days gone by, less sophisticated Western societies who didn't murder their infants the way we do. What?
Yeah, less sophisticated societies
murder their
don't
infants.
murder their kids. Yeah.
Right. One thing they would do is sometimes it was permitted for husbands to punish recalcitrant wives. You know what the rule of thumb is?
The rule of thumb? No. What's the rule of thumb?
It comes from the Old English law. You couldn't beat your wife with anything thicker than that, the first joint of the thumb. That's the rule of thumb. Now, I got to tell you, though, ladies and gentlemen, for me personally, you got a real problem if you're at that point in your marriage. I'm sorry, you really do. I mean, if she's taking after you with the frying pan and you're measuring a switch, you guys have some real problems, and probably they began when you got married and married the wrong person. I mean, you got problems there. So the point I'm making, though, is I would like to know precisely what they mean by domestic violence laws. Because that could mean anything. I mean, are the Russians saying that it's okay now for a husband and wife to go after each other with pistols? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
What I do know, though, is that, we are in a society today that puts a lot of pressure on both husband and wife to work at the same time that it's incapable of altering human nature, so that men and women expect different things out of each other. And when they're no longer able to play their enforced gender roles.
Enforced?
Yes, it's terrible how custom and tradition have forced men and women to behave like men and women. It's just terrible stuff. Because you see, those gender roles, ladies and gentlemen, actually grew up. Societies embraced them, etc., because of the facts of men and women. Starting with the most obvious, the biological organs and so forth. I mean, if you're going to go on about gender roles, you might as well protest against organ roles. Why do I have to smell through my nose? Why can't it be through my ear?
Well, the ear doesn't have that sense.
Well, says you. Well, why can't a man be a woman, be a man, be a woman, be non-binary? These are artificial social constructs. How come I can't walk on my tongue? Why do I have to wear my trousers on my legs?
Well, you're talking about physical things.
No, I'm talking about organ roles.
Gender is a feeling.
No.
You are what you feel.
That's what I'm saying. Why can't I walk out my ear?
Well, that's a physical trait. Science says you can. See, science.
Oh, science. All right, well, let me make this really, really clear. Actually, you may think you feel like a woman and you're biologically a man or vice versa. It's not true. It's not true. Why do I say that? I don't know if we've discussed this before. Have we? I don't know.
Could be.
Could be. Well, anyway, it bears repeating, I guess. It's like this, ladies and gentlemen. You may be a biological male and decide that you like guys, you want to dress like a woman and all that, and so you're not really a man. No. 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 You will never think like a woman. Ever. Why? You won't have the monthly physical changes that are such a big part of a woman's life and her disposition. You won't have the big question of reproduction hanging over your head. Will I ever have kids? Do I want kids? Do I not want kids? So on and so on. Every woman has to deal with that particular thing. No man does. And it does not affect a man's thinking. And the third, and I hate to be...
Debbie Downer?
Yeah, is the fear of rape. It's always there in the background of a woman's mind. It just isn't in a man's mind.
That's interesting.
Well, it's the way it is. Women have a whole different set of problems motivated by biology.
That's true. The whole Me Too thing. How come women are limited to Me Too? Because that's based on traditional gender roles.
Precisely. Now, men, on the other hand, they have their own set. I mean, you may be a woman who likes women, you want to be a truck driver or a hockey player or whatever. You may think, I've never liked girly stuff. Yeah, well, trust me, though. All that stuff I talked about, that's true for you, too, anyway. And if you were a man, it just wouldn't be in the mix. And these are simple biological realities. So, I repeat, gender roles are not something invented to oppress women and men any more than organ roles, nose, eyes, hands, feet, etc., are social constructs to force us to dress like this and to act like this.
Okay. Well, what if someone says you're depriving us of our right to pursue happiness?
Then I say, break organ roles.
Break organ roles?
Break organ roles. Show us how free you are.
But maybe that's not for him. But maybe if someone is interested in what you're talking about,
I think you should try it. Try walking with your nose and get back to me.
Maybe he's a supporter of these your organ roles.
Breaking organ roles.
But it's just not for him.
Well, that could be, as long as he'll come out for it publicly. And not be afraid of society's disdain.